I'm Sal. Thanks for checking out the video. This is my 2002 Toyota Tundra, and over the last week or so, I did a full paint correction on the truck. I started with a decon wash. I posted that video about a week ago. Then I did a full paint correction, that's this video, and I also did a full ceramic coating on the truck, and that video will be coming out in a few days. But as far as the paint correction itself for this video, I used the Meguiar's Ultimate Compound and Polish. I thought this stuff worked really well. This is my first time doing a paint correction on a car, so I have nothing to compare it to. But it did the job, and the polish smells really good. So as far as the pads that I used, I picked up these really cheap foam pads from Harbor Freight. They're Bauer, and this green one, it's pretty coarse. It's the second coarsest in their lineup, and I did not like this thing at all. It barely took out any scratching in any scratches in the surface, and I just don't think it did anything. It was really frustrating to use. So I ended up picking up this Griot's Garage microfiber cutting pad, and it did a lot better. I was really happy with how this did. And then I ended up finishing with this, again, Bauer Harbor Freight foam finishing pad. And this is, I really like this. It's really soft. It conformed to all the edges of the truck, and I feel like this combined with the Meguiar's polish did a really good job, kind of like jeweling the surface, and just eliminating any haze. So the DA that I was using was this Bauer one from Harbor Freight. It's got variable speed on it, which is really nice, and it never skipped a beat. This thing worked really well. It's pretty cheap, it's only $100, but I got no complaints. So, like I said, this is my first time ever doing this, so it's not so much an instructional video, but just kind of taking you along and teaching you some of the things that I learned along the way. We'll start off with some before and after comparisons, and then we'll roll right into the full process. So let's get into it. Okay, so I started on the roof because I figured if I screwed up super bad, no one would really see it. But I did a clay bar first. So the clay bar pulls any impurities out of the paint that a normal wash won't get out. I don't really know the science behind it, but it's actually kind of crazy how much it pulls out, how much smoother the paint is afterwards. I thought the paint on the roof was long gone and beyond saving, but the clay bar did its job, and the difference was incredible. You can actually hear the difference between the before and after. And then if you go over to the side that I have done, it is so much smoother. So the drawback to using a clay bar is that it actually mars the surface and leaves micro scratches behind. So for that reason, you only want to clay bar your vehicle if you're also planning on doing a paint correction as well. So here I started with the Meguiar's Compound and the green foam pad, and followed it with the white finishing pad in polish. Okay guys, I did the the tape thing. See the before and after, and I'm pretty happy with it. You can definitely tell a difference from before to after, but there's still all these weird lines. I don't know what they are. Like I said earlier, I didn't really like that green pad at all, and I think if I had used the microfiber pad on the roof, those weird lines and scratches would have been buffed out. But this is before I realized how bad it was, and once I got the microfiber one, I really didn't feel like doing the roof again because I knew it looked good enough and wasn't caked full of contaminants anymore. So next I moved down to the hood and pulled the truck up into the shade to avoid the lubricant drying so quickly in the sun like it did on the roof. You probably saw that in the time lapse. I worked in small areas at a time and then started with the compounding step. So I moved the truck back into the sun to get a better view of my passes and where I may have missed a spot. The hood was also pretty contaminated, so it made for a really satisfying before and after as well. Not many of the scratches came out during this first compound with the green pad, but it did give it a deeper color, which was nice. I think that was mainly the polish doing the jeweling, like I talked about earlier, but with that said, the paint absolutely felt like glass, and I was very happy with that aspect of it. You gotta love having a car that you don't care about the paint on. It's like my workbench all the time when when I'm working on my truck out here. I just pile everything on the trunk of the car because my bench is all the way over there. It's kind of a pain to get to. So I don't care about this paint. So I just finished up the passenger side of the hood with some compound and polish and then compared the two sides. You can see that there really isn't too much of a visual difference. And this is where I started lying to myself, saying that it looked better than it did. I kind of needed to justify the hours that I was pouring into this and kept telling myself that it was all worth it. In my opinion, looking back at this footage, the hard work really wasn't making that much of a difference in the paint, but I pushed on and kept doing the rest of the hood, compound, then polish. If you're wondering why I'm all bundled up, it was low 40s while I was doing this, and after living in Florida for the past year, my blood has thinned and I'm kind of a baby. So here's the freshly polished hood, and you can see that the color is very deep and glossy, but there's still a bunch of scratches and water spots and stuff. So I didn't really notice this until looking at the video, but there's also this dark spot at the center of the hood, and I'm assuming it's just the flake in the paint that's settled in that one area. Not a big deal. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Next, I worked down the side of the truck, doing the clay bar, compound, polish process over and over again. Again, it kills me to watch this, knowing that it basically did nothing. I'm going to go over all again with the microfiber cutting pad the next day, but hindsight's 20/20, and let's let Sal do his thing. So, while I'm working my way down the side here, something I wish I had done was tape off the plastic trim on the doors and the plastic bed rail caps, because it was a pain in the butt to get it off afterwards with some isopropyl alcohol. So I'll let you watch me finish up this bedside and tailgate, and I'll catch up with you on the other side of the truck. Okay, so by this time I had been grinding for like 5 hours and I was starting to get pretty tired, honestly. I started clay barring bigger areas and I wasn't as consistent with my polishing passes. You can see how I'm just blatantly missing spots with the DA, and I'm not wiping off all the polish in some spots. I will say that the sun was super bright at this point, and that made it a little harder to see what spots needed to get wiped. But on top of all that, you can see that barely any of the scratches are coming out. So this clip, believe it or not, was taken after doing the full compound and polish, and there are still this many scratches in the bedside. By this point, I really felt like I was on the home stretch and just wanted to get it over with, to be honest. I must say that this color is really growing on me though. When I bought the truck, I kind of went back and forth on whether I liked it or not. I've never been a huge fan of red cars, but this is more of a purplish maroon in most lighting. However, when the sun hits the metallic flakes just right, it turns to a deep red and looks so freaking cool, especially during golden hour like most of these later clips. But I didn't really see this until I started washing the truck more often, and especially once I did this paint correction. Like I said, in most lights it's a pretty boring maroon with some purplish hues, but seeing the flake justified all this hard work because after the full polish and everything, it looks so good. So I think the only other colors I would want in this truck to be are like a deep blue that they offered, or maybe a white, but the white would have to be really darn clean, and I already have my white 240SX, so it's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit. But the blue is super cool. It's pretty similar to this color where it's kind of bland at first sight, but the metallic flake in the sunlight just takes it to a whole nother level. Okay guys, just finished up the last pass, the polishing pass, and the truck looks really good. Golden hour does good things for this color too. It looks insane. So the whole truck feels like glass. It cleaned up really well. I think a lot of the scratches didn't come out as well as I was hoping, but I mean, just look at this thing. So you can see it's got some good gloss. I'm standing right in the sun. Let's see. You can still see some of those scratches, but it's such a deep color now. I'm really excited. So okay, so it's the next day, and I spent some time thinking about how it went yesterday. And yes, the paint feels incredible. It feels really glassy, but especially on these back bedsides here, there's still a million scratches. It like deepened up the red, but there's still like a ton of scratches on the bed that the foam pad that I had didn't even touch. And I know I'm gonna kick myself if I ceramic coat right over all the scratches, and then I gotta look at them every day and think, you know what, I was in the process of polishing, and I didn't take an extra day to get all those scratches out, or at least try harder. So I went to Advanced Auto Parts tonight, and I just picked up a microfiber cutting pad. Everyone online says these cut better, so if I can get a deeper cut out of it and then repolish it with the foam pad, then I'll be happy. Also, one more thing, I actually ordered new decals. These are they got all chewed up by the last guy who detailed it, and then I think they're just getting worse when I'm doing it. So I'm also gonna try and take these off today and then put the new ones on when they get in later this week. So this is one of the clips I used at the start of the video, and the crazy thing is that the quote-unquote before was actually taken after doing the full compound and polish the day before. So now hopefully you can see why I decided to get the microfiber pad and do most of the truck over again. So a few quick passes in this area, and you can see the incredible difference that this pad made. It hazed up the surface a little bit, but the polishing step afterwards dealt with that no problem. So in this after clip, you can see how like 90% of the scratches were taken out, and I am more than happy with that. Okay, so next we'll take off this TRD vinyl sticker on the bed of the Tundra here. So you can just see it's all chewed up. The microfiber keeps getting caught on the edges here, and my thought process is if I take it off, then I can just polish all of this completely through. And then I bought new stickers, new vinyls from Toyota that when they come in later this week, I'll put them on, and hopefully the back half of the truck looks really good afterwards. So this was a tedious process, but kind of therapeutic and fun at the same time. My two biggest recommendations for removing vinyl like this, though, is heat and usable fingernails, and I only had heat. So this took longer than it should have, but it was all still fun trying to pull off as big of pieces as I could, especially this right half here. I got one big pull, which was very satisfying. I used some Goo Gone to remove the adhesive and called it a night. I was pretty exhausted. A few days later, I went back through and finished using the microfiber pad on the rest of the truck. I didn't want to do a full wash, so I was just wiping it with isopropyl alcohol and then polishing section by section. And these results really impressed me. They're not professional level by any means, and there are still a lot of scratches that could be dealt with, but I just wish that I had done this from square one. I feel like this pad is actually doing work and could have made my life so much easier the first time around. Lesson learned, not a big deal. It still looks great. Um, I took this next clip to show the importance of doing a polishing pass, because you can see the line where I had polished on the left and just used the cutting compound on the right. It still looks good, but I mean, the polish just gives it that extra jeweling effect that I was talking about earlier. Final step here was applying the new TRD vinyls. They came with instructions for placement on a Tacoma, so that wasn't very helpful for me. And I planned to use the lip of adhesive or paint or whatever it is that I couldn't get off from under the old stickers as a guide for these new ones. The problem is the sticker has a large backing paper, which makes it hard to find the actual edge of the sticker and line it up properly. So you can see how the lip from the old vinyl is pretty well lined up near the front of the sticker, but in the back, it's a millimeter or so below the edge. So I was a little quick to squeegee this side down, and unfortunately, it's a little nose heavy. It tilts down at the front a little bit, and you can see it relative to the door trim here in this clip. I don't think that it's super noticeable, and it's not obvious when you're looking at the bedside, but it was still really frustrating, and I won't not see it every time I look at it. For the other side, I spent more time thinking about how I was actually going to line it up. I planned to use the painter's tape to make a guide, but it was still very hard to see exactly where the letters lined up to. So I decided to just keep maneuvering it and keep it very wet until I was happy with the placement, and then I squeegeed it down. And I was much happier with this side. And with that, I finished polishing the whole truck, and it looked incredible. I had about 12 hours into this job, and I'll be honest, it was more exhausting than I expected. It really gave me an appreciation, though, for the people who do this for a living. They make it look so easy, and especially on YouTube, they make it look quick, but it really does take hours and hours invested behind the scenes. But I mean, I think the results speak for themselves. The truck looks great. Yes, there are still some scratches that I couldn't correct out, and the paint isn't perfect everywhere. But I mean, for my first time polishing a car, I learned a ton, and I'm very happy with the results. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I had a fun time making it, and I learned a lot during the process. I encourage you to give it a shot in your car. It really was pretty easy to do, and if you're willing to put in some time and elbow grease, I'll bet you can get your car's paint looking better than you would expect. I'll make sure to link all the things I used in the description below. But stay tuned for the next video where I apply the ceramic coating, and have a great rest of your day.